When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Hey!
How's it going, guys? Welcome to the first video on details in graffiti, and in this video we're going to be talking about arrows. Now you might think, what the fuck is this and why are there car and blobs? And the reason is, now I'm not like a teacher, and my theory or my understanding of some things that I'm going to be talking about is may not be completely right, but it's just my understanding, and my understanding helps me to solve the problem with arrows and how to deal with them and how to place them on the certain letters and so on. And this video might be a little bit lengthy because I really want to explain the best that I can. So yeah, as I said, this is completely my understanding of arrows, and this video might help you, it might not, but give it a chance and let's get on with the lesson. So what I would like to talk about is aerodynamics, so dynamics of air, right? And I have like two cars, and the green arrow will represent the way where does the air comes from. So obviously if this is driving forward, air is gonna be hitting it from this side. And I know this doesn't make much sense because it's not graffiti, but it's really related to understanding how arrows would work. So if we imagine air, it's gonna go over the car and it's gonna go like this, right? So air has its own flow, right? So for example, now if you're on the car, if you have like I don't know, a certain shape on the, for example, on the side of the door, air is gonna flow over it, and that's how it's gonna go. For example, if you have a Jeep of some sort that's more blocky than maybe a race car, you're gonna have a little bit different, how do I say, flow of the air, because it's gonna be more by the angle, if that makes sense. So this is gonna be like, this is gonna help you like with deciding if your arrows are gonna curve around your letters or are they gonna like bend around your letters, if that makes sense. So I have a couple of blobs, and we're gonna use like the same technique, and we're gonna imagine how would air flow around these things. So for example, air would go strictly in the like middle, and it would split into two halves, right? For example, this is just a small blow, so how do I explain this? More air you have, the air will travel further. Actually, the more force you have, the air is gonna travel further. But now let's imagine that this is only like a small blow, and it's gonna bounce off. So if you're having like a high force of air, then it's gonna go obviously like this, and it's gonna curve, and it's gonna follow again the shape. Same on this side, pretty much the same, but it's other way around, and yeah, like this. Now we have a little bit different shape, and again, it's gonna be all about how much air is it. So air might go like this. If there is more force, air is gonna continue curving. If there is even more force, it's gonna continue curving, and so on. Yeah. Now, to the next point, and it's gonna be about the waves, and the waves that we see on the sea. Yeah. Anyway, again, the green arrow is gonna represent the direction of the air, and what air does on the sea, it starts to like wrinkle the sea, and as the wrinkles go, as the wrinkles continue to roll on, it's like I would say a snowball effect, and it depends on how much air there is. It will start to lift and to flip over this like rolls of water. So this is like what would happen with the water. It would just flip it would start rising the water into waves. Then as the waves get bigger and bigger, they will collapse, they would foam, and so on. So now this, let's say that's a shore, that's something in the water, that's a block of a sort. And what's gonna happen, the wave is gonna go it depends obviously on the strength of the wave, but it's gonna bounce off the barrier. If, for example, if the wave is bigger than the barrier, it might just spill over it. If it's way smaller, it might roll under itself. So you could already start seeing like some shapes and dynamics in just by observing the nature. Now I'm gonna use a car and the wave to, let's say, if the wave is going around the car, because now we have a little bit different shape, it would again roll over it. It would, I mean, this is not a realistic wave, but it's just to give you a feeling of what would happen. It would swoosh over it, but it would swoosh over it in the way related to the car, so it would not go like this. So you have to think about what is actually going on. Now my next point is gonna be like just a couple of examples, and here we have some A's and B's in a different style, so more blocky, more curvy, and so on. And we're gonna use a different points of, how they say, different ways of where the air is coming from. And let me take a different kind of pen. Okay, so obviously if you are having an air coming from this side, then you know it's gonna go tap 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 like this, and there's not gonna be anything on this side. But now we are not talking about aerodynamics anymore, but we are talking about it as an idea how things could move. So you don't have to be as strict as if you're explaining aerodynamics to someone, but let's say we want to have a certain like motion in this ladder, so, and it's gonna go that way, so we can always like maybe extend this, and we can give it a small arrow. In the end, it doesn't have to be arrow. A lot of people could just do like, instead of arrow, just blunt tip. It's all about, you know, the style, I guess. And for example, this we already have an extension, so what we can do, we could, for example, make an extension here. And now you saw I went straight here because it's blocky letter, but now I'm already taking a curve because we are getting the feel of this letter. So we're gonna do like oh, sorry, it's air from above, never mind. So see, we can do this, and then let's take this as an example. If you are doing arrows from all around, it will go all around, you will not get the nice effect. So now we're gonna add an arrow coming from the top, and just by my understanding, okay, the air is hitting it like this and like this. So by that idea, I'm gonna maybe make an arrow go like this. And already you have a certain motion, and it's not so bad when it comes to one letter, but if you have a bunch of letters all lined up and you have arrows go all around the place without any like let's call it an order, you will have a mess, and that mess will not represent, and that it will not convey a feeling of I would say motion and dynamics in your letters. Just to make it a little bit shorter, I'm gonna take this B and I'm gonna do like arrow from this side, so we have an airflow maybe from the bottom. So maybe we could add something on this side, maybe let's go really wild. Let's give it an arrow going from this side, and it's, you know, it's all about practicing. This is not this is not like the only places where you could put arrows, or this might not be the right places to put arrows. It's just an example. So again, we have a blocky kind of letter, so what we can do, we can add some arrows, and we can do it like this. So like I said, now I'm gonna try to keep my arrows in the same like form, or in the same motion as the letters are, so I don't create like a huge mess, because if you would use like this curvy stuff on the blocky stuff, it might again destroy the whole concept of a leather on its own. It will destroy the structure of the leather because it's not the same. Now the next thing is leathers having a mind of their own. It's a good thing and it could be very easily done and played with, but the problem is you have to know their own. You have to know their limits. So I wrote it down: mind of their own. Imagine the limits. Now the way that we're gonna imagine the limits is gonna be, let's say, let me get a pen. Okay. So if you're gonna use if you're gonna say the mind of their own, they just might as well go like this. Here. This is not an arrow, but you know, whatever. And this is what people would do. Okay. And you have a messed up piece. Because they do have mind of their own, but you haven't added any limits on them. And the way that you're gonna add a limit is, let's imagine, so we are just imagining this, that there is a field that's not, so let's imagine that we have a field that is not limitless around it, but it's just, you know, it's not there, it's just in our minds. And now let's give this arrow, that's going out from this part, let's give it a mind of their own. But the thing is, what's happening now, she's gonna hit the border that we imagined. So what we have to do with this, we would have to start curving it. Now what we can do, we can start going upwards with it, we could go downwards with it. With this one, I'm just gonna go, I don't know, upwards, just for the sake of it. And now what is happening, we can decide if we want to go, for example, behind the leather, or we want to maybe curve it again. Should it bounce off the leather? Sure. There we go. And let's give it a tip. So that's like the one way. So the way that we are deciding, it's gonna be about how do we feel this arrow is gonna act. So they do have to have mind of their own. They need to have, how to say, they need to have like freedom to move. So I'll do it again. So we can do like this. Okay. So this arrow decided to go that way, but we want to force it back towards our leather. So what we can do, we can make it, let's say, twist around itself. And here it is. So we can do this. Then we can, if we have, for example, this is a very simple one. So it uses the side of a leather to curve around it. So you have to think about it like if they're having a flow, a certain type of motion in them. And then you have to restrict it so you would get them under control, because if you don't, they're gonna go wild. And then the problem is gonna be you will not know when to stop and you're gonna overdo it. Now, the arrows in graffiti, like I said, they need to have a flow, a certain motion. You want to make your letters more interesting, but you don't want to suffocate your letters with a bunch of arrows. And you want to maybe decide on, for example, I have 3 letters right now. This is the way that I'm deciding. I might do 2 arrows, so then it's gonna go one side and the other. I might do 3, so 1 for each letter. Or you could decide if you really want to go wild, and that's what we're going to try to do today. You have to feel when it's too much. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just, I don't know, start doing some arrows. And in the meantime, I'm gonna shut up because I would like to make this as nice as possible. Alright, so what I did right now, I added 3 arrows, and I wanted to do them like inverted, so they have like so they would balance each other out, and I just did one in the middle. I could point it downwards, I could point it that way, but if I would point it that way, then I would add probably an arrow going that way, so it will all have like a, I would again say it, a motion. And now, what we can do, we can use arrows or these like bridges even to connect the letters, and let's try to do that right now. So what I did right here is, instead of making an arrow point, I decided to go behind the letter and through this hole in the B and connect it with a C on the top. And that's what's like, you could use this in your own advantage to maybe, like I said, give it a little bit of more of an interest in the whole piece by itself. And now what you can do, you could do some arrows that are not actually connected to the letters. So for example, I could maybe use it like this, because we have one going up towards the center. We could do one more going in, so we can do it like this, so it doesn't have to be completely connected. So as you can see, this one is not connected with the letter itself, but now we are balancing out this, like for example these 2 arrows. And now what I see and what really bugs me, here we have a bend more than we have on the letter C. So I would like to maybe take a chance and to balance it out. And what we can do, we can balance it out with this arrow that we decided maybe not to connect with the letter. So what we can do, we can make this go behind the letter B. And now we can have another arrow. I'm gonna do the black outline on this just for you to get like a final feel on it, and then we're gonna talk a little bit more about the arrows and maybe arrow heads or arrow tips, whatever you would like to call it, and yeah, another time lapse. So here it is. What I'm really not happy about is this connecting piece, and if I would like to I would like to maybe balance it out with adding something that goes across the C through B or something, just to make it a little bit more balanced. But it's more about, you know, like purpose of a tutorial, I guess. And I decided to paint them these arrows a little bit differently, just so you could notice it a little bit more easy. And yeah, this is like, you can see that I haven't used much of a curved lines, maybe one here, maybe one here, but because I have the blocky style of letters, I decided to go with the blocky style of arrows. If, like I said, usually I draw, well, I usually draw more of curvy letters, and I don't put a lot of arrows. I might do small pieces here and there, and they usually would not have a tip. And this is what I would like to talk about. I haven't prepared this part of a lesson, but I really should talk about it. And like I said, let me take maybe a red pen. I guess this is the best to be seen. So yeah, it's letters, sorry. So yeah, arrows could have like, and this is what I really prefer. It's like to have the most simple point. The way that you can make sure that you hit it in the middle. You can just put a line in the middle. And then you have it like a little bit more in the center. There is a lot of types, and it really, like I said in my video that I was talking about details before, it's really about you playing with it and deciding what's the best for you. So it could be even this heart-shaped arrow, it could be, I don't know, even like I saw some arrows with like the empty parts. And you can really play a lot with it, with those. And also, like I said, sometimes I don't even create an actual arrow, I just create this like a blunt tip, or I just create something that curves. It's really about the style of your own letters, and this might go with your style, or this might go with your style, or maybe arrow that goes, I don't know, like this. I really don't know. It's really up to the person, and you will make a lot of mistakes making arrows. The reason why I don't do them as much, because I always see some flaws with them, because maybe I'm over analytical about the things. But the thing is, in the end, it's like I said, it's all about the fun, experimenting. Add this arrow in one piece, add that type of arrows in the other, try to connect them, try to go as wild as you can, and then you will see if you can do it, or it will all fall apart. Maybe, like I said, your letters will suffocate from amount of arrows and so on. And it's really all about playing, experimenting and so on. Hopefully this lesson kinda explained you my point of view and how I do them. I'll just, let me see if I use some arrows in the previous sketches. So yeah, as you can see, I don't use much arrows. I would use like this pointy things. Is there something more? Yeah, for example, here you can see that I went really wild, and it doesn't make much sense. I just had fun. So you can see one swirl goes like this, and then the one goes like this into a T, and this T goes like this and that, and it's really like I don't know, having a fun, I guess. So you can see this could have been arrow or this, but I decided just to leave it like. And for example, you can see this tip and this tip. It's not really an arrows, but they do represent that feel of emotion. Here I went with a letter I, and it has this like an arrow shape, like this, not arrow shape, this heart shape on the bottom, and then something goes like this, and it's all about having fun. I don't really care that much, but I see a lot of people not knowing what they would like to maybe do, and then they would just go like I said, wild, and it will go all around the place. I'm just looking for a, yeah, you can see here I did use one arrow. Oh, actually I used 3 arrows. So I have an arrow on the beginning, on the end, and in the middle. And the rest of it is like swirls and bits and pieces. So it's not all about, oh, if I add many arrows it's gonna look much better. Here you see I have these blunt tips, and again blunt tips. Oh, sorry for that. Again, more blunt tips. It's not always arrows and such. But yeah, you can see also here blunt tips, and you don't have to use them. You can really go with whatever you would like to go with. But yeah, hopefully this kind of explained you my point of view and how I think they should react and they should act in a, let's call it a physical world, which doesn't have to be the case, because after all this is an art. This is not something that you're gonna construct on the road or make a house out of these plans. It's really for the fun of it. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully it did make some sense. And yeah, as always, till the next video, have a nice day.